right, well, thank you, everyone. We're here with the great Robert Scoble, famed tech evangelist, doing the heavy metal sign right there. And in the middle there is Adam Frisbee and Rowan Freeman. They are the co-founders of Sinewave Entertainment. They create the Unity-based platform called Sinespace. And then a spin-off of that is what we're in right now called Breakroom. It's a 3D social hangout for remote teams, all the people working at home right now. So yeah, I'll give it over to Rowan and Adam. You can kind of do an intro, and then we'll turn it over to Robert to ask some probing questions.
About what we're doing. Yeah, hi. So this is Rowan Freeman. So as you say, this is Breakroom. It's built on top of the virtual world platform that Adam and our team have been building for, I think, 10 years now, all built around the Unity game engine. We have been able to do white label grids for enterprise clients for some time, where we sort of chop out a standalone grid for them. And, you know, we have clients like NATO and, you know, various universities, Department of Defense, building their own projects in their own standalone virtual worlds. And then when the lockdown started to happen, we figured, okay, well, there's kind of a very strong reason for people to want to get into a virtual world and socialize and connect with each other in ways that go beyond what you can do with video conferencing. But most of the companies who would take advantage of that aren't going to have, you know, Unity developers on hand to build a project for them. So we figured, let's throw together a collection of tools and content that will run on any machine, which is why we've gone for this really sort of cartoon low poly style, just to make sure that anybody can get in, whatever device they're on. And then we sort of threw together some meeting rooms and hubs and like a few casual games. And we've got a quiz show system and an event system, so people have DJs and stuff like that, so that, you know, within 24 hours of contacting us, a company or a university or a school can have all of their community in a space and able to socialize and connect with each other and maintain those sort of the social fabric and the friendships that they depend on without having to actually go to the lengths of building their own virtual world themselves. So that's kind of like the premise of what we're doing here. We rolled it out literally with an awful lot of late nights over the last 2 weeks. And Robert, you're one of the first people to be invited in to have a look.
There we go. I'm honored. Sorry, I was unmuting myself. I'm honored to see this. This is real interesting. For people who maybe are familiar with Skype or Zoom, you know, we see the 4 videos up and running. That looks like that, but then there's all this other stuff going on, and I bet people who are watching this for the first time are like, why do we need a cartoon world? What's going on here? What else can you do other than have you know, small videos up in this new land? Right?
Yeah, so it's one of those questions that as soon as you start to experience a virtual world, you realize that there's a whole load of stuff going on at a very sort of soft, subtle human level that doesn't necessarily take place in a video conference or an email exchange or, you know, any medium you look at, whether it's social media or video conferencing. They all have their own unique attributes. And, you know, if you are trying to hold a meeting for 6 people and you use a video conferencing tool and you're sharing your desktop and you chat and it's scheduled, that makes sense. But if you've got 50 or 150 or 7,000 people and you want to bring them together and you want them to be able to socialize and you want it to be an environment where people, you know, in a video conference, what can you do? One person can talk, everyone else can listen. Well, that's fine when you've got a group of 4 people, or it's fine if you've got a raging narcissist who wants to be on the mic all the time, like me. You struggle to get a word in edgeways when I'm on the microphone. But, you know, a lot of people then just end up sitting there silently. You know, you've got to be quite confident to hog the mic when that's the only thing that you can do. In a virtual world, people can wander off, they can chat on the side, they can build while they're talking, they can play mini games. So everyone gets the ability to participate in a much bigger, more fluid social scene without having to be on camera all the time, which is exhausting after a while. And without having to sort of hog the bandwidth and be the person who's like everyone else has got to pay attention to.
Yeah, this is really unique. I'm sorry, I was just gonna go in and change my avatar and start.
Yeah, well, we'll get to all of that. We were going to show some of the features of the platform, but so I mean, you that's a perfect example of what we're talking about. You want to be able to fiddle around, customize, change how you represent yourself, and do a whole load of stuff that, in the end, over time, builds your relationships with the people around you. And again, that's something that video conferencing doesn't really support. I mean, the list of things video conferencing and Skype doesn't support is unending. If you look at the whiteboard in here, for instance, where we've been scribbling "Hello, Robert Scoble" all over it and so on and so forth, well, that's a persistent whiteboard. If we all log out of here and log back in again tomorrow, all of our work there, important as it is, will still be there. So persistent shared spaces is also something that virtual worlds bring that you don't necessarily get with a normal video conferencing system, where it's kind of session specific.
Yeah. Now, this is really interesting. This is built in a game engine. It's a 3D world, right? And people who are watching this on a video probably don't get a sense of what makes that magic, and that there's other things to do in this space other than just sit at this table and have a video conference, right?
That's right, and I said not to knock your coffee over, and I can see that you just somebody just knocked the coffee all over your laptop. That was Adam. Yeah. Okay.
Totally.
So, yeah.
That reminds me of Real World. Alan Cooper, who did the visuals on Visual Studio, knocked a glass of wine onto my laptop and blew it up. So.
Yeah. So let's talk about the things that you can do in a space like this. I'll share my desktop, and if the cameraman can zoom in on my desktop, then that'll help show some of these features. So I'm just going to leave and jump to a Word document, and let's see what we were going to talk about. So we've talked about the fact that it's a white label product. That does mean that companies can grab this, and that we're in our version of this world, but our clients are setting up their own standalone versions with this content in it, but only their staff or their students logging in, so they know that it's a closed community. We've looked at the web video, we've looked at the screen sharing, we've looked at the whiteboard. Let's look at shopping. So we have a built-in shop. We as a virtual world platform have about 2 million virtual goods that we have. Oh, I'm getting a bit of noise there. That we have about 2 million virtual goods that we have brought into the platform from various different content creators. In the Breakroom grids, we tend to restrict that to low poly stuff, again, so that it will run on any machine. So that means we have about 100,000 outfits. So you can see here I'm testing a little wizard, and if I like this wizard, I can buy it for gold and continue, and I can wear that outfit, and immediately I'm wearing that. And none of this content comes from us. The content creators who made this content get paid when you make that purchase. That was a purchase made for real money. So this is a real economy, just like a proper mature virtual world platform should be. We've got probably 10,000 content creators who've licensed their intellectual property into the platform. And if you're looking at my screen share, incidentally, with the screen share tools, you can toggle that in-world button at the top of your screen will toggle the screen share between on screen and not. I won't do it because then you'll be looking at me recursively forever. But for those of you wanting to follow what I'm doing, that's an easy way to bring my screen share up to an easy view. So yeah, loads and loads of in-world shopping. I'm also just going to jump across to another region that I'm in here, just to show you some of the high poly stuff as well. So here you can see I've got one of our outfits where I can show we've got almost unlimited customization of the avatar. You can see I've got about 70 different sliders for the face and so on and so forth. Each one of these different assets is a unique item, so everyone can get a completely unique look and feel for their avatar. So that's kind of like the avatar aspect. Now, as to give us something to do, what I suggest we do, let's assume we've had our formal meeting about the quarter 3 figures or about the marketing plan or whatever it may be, or we've spoken to our professor about what we're going to do for our next assignment. And we've got 15 minutes to while away before somebody else comes and joins us for a meeting, or maybe we want to get the team or the department together for a more social hangout. If you all just, those of you who are sitting, click the leave button so you can stand up, and then just use your arrow keys to follow me to the other end of the park. I quite like being this wizard. You'll see we're now entering a zone. There's some seats laid out for you all. Okay, so this is a quiz. This is perfect for, you know, bringing a department together, a team together. So I'm just going to start asking questions, and you should get pop-ups. This is pulling from a random quiz system. So we're going to start. I tell you what, we'll do a little competition with everyone who's participating. We'll make it a race to 4. So whoever gets 4 answers right is the winner, and maybe we'll have a playoff if 2 people get there first. I'm going to start with computers as a subject, because absolutely everyone here will be shamed if they don't get all the computer questions right. And I'm going to launch the first question now. What does CPU stand for? I hope I've got that right. I'm going to be so embarrassed if I've got that right.
I'm going to be embarrassed if I don't get it right either.
Yeah. If it isn't, if we're not all right there, I believe either we all got it right or we all got it wrong. We all got it right to be okay. Good, well done. Celebrate to us. So I believe that I can just where are we? Put some celebratory confetti. Let's put the celebratory confetti on Robert. I'm just getting my camera on that as well. Congratulations, we know what CPU stands for. Okay, let's see if we can make things a little bit more difficult.
See where we can go with VR and such a tool. You know, very few people have VR headsets, and so, you know, I have a VR headset, right? But very few people do, particularly in business contexts, and that's why you know, things like Zoom and Skype are popular because everybody has them. This is gives you the ability to have these different contexts, like you said. Some are a little bit more of a gaming context, some are more of a business context, some are more of a playing context, right? And that's interesting, I think. I wish we could all get everybody into a VR headset and go completely into the metaverse, but we don't have that yet, right?
Yeah, we do support VR headsets, and this runs in VR, but as you say, you've got to go where people are, and I think we're actually be interested to know your thoughts. Our perceptions as an organization is that 5G is a big game breaker for VR, right? Because at that point, you can do the processing in the cloud, the hardware gets lightweight, doesn't have to be clamped to your face like a scuba diving equipment, and the whole thing can take off at that point. Does that make sense?
Yeah, we all are probably going to get Apple glasses in 2 or 3 years, right? But the mainstream everyday person, 2025 or later. Maybe even 2030 or 2035, right? I mean, I had a mobile phone for a decade before the iPhone came out, and that was when the rest of my
Windows phone?
I had a Windows phone. I hated it. I had Nokia. I was a Nokia or a BlackBerry person. I had Blackberries.
Yeah. So what are the latest sort of amazing things that you're seeing in the VR space? Then what should we, our viewers and our community, be paying attention to?
I think during the virus outbreaks, VR is real fun to have for gaming, Half-Life Alex is amazing, right? It's really good for exercise. If you can't leave your house or your flat, or you're scared about getting the virus, some of these games, like I use Onshape to do a bunch of exercises, and it forces you to fit your body into a cookie cutter that comes toward you, right? And that's gets your heart rate going. And it's cool. If you can get all your friends in VR, it's another step above even this, where you can get into a metaverse where you're actually present with other people and you can play basketball or shoot people or that. But like I said, out of 20 of my friends, only 2 have VR, right? So I can't take most of the people into full-blown metaverses yet, right? Or things like All Space VR or Rec Room or Somnium Space, that kind of thing.
I have actually played basketball in VR in here with Rowan across continents. The latency is an interesting one, but it does work.
Yeah. No, it's quite cool if you can get people into a VR headset, but they're $400 for an Oculus Quest, and this one cost $2,000 because I had to buy a PC with a big NVIDIA card and then an Oculus Rift kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's at this time, I can't ask very many people to do that, right? That's out of the reach of a lot of people, right? And particularly right now when people are getting laid off and they're worried about finances. Even $400 is really tough for a lot of my family and friends, right? So we got to wait on that. And then this is real interesting in between, right? It's not flat like Zoom. It has some of the attributes of a metaverse. It has the ability to walk around and have the kind of serendipitous moments of meeting up with somebody in the park or whatever. And that's real interesting. So it gives you a little taste of that. And it is more fun than Zoom, because there's a rabbit sitting at my business table.
Well, exactly. Yeah. The rabbits.
It's a little weird, but it's also going to be interesting to see, because I've noticed that business people like to fit in and they don't like to try weird, unusual things. Once they try weird, unusual things, they all of a sudden find that people lower their guard and they have better business meetings. Like even in Facebook, if you turn on augmented reality and start putting masks on people, all of a sudden people have a lot of fun with that, and the business meeting becomes much more interesting. It lowers people's guard, right? They stop pretending so much that they're important. And here it's really hard to pretend you're important because there's a rabbit sitting at the table. But there's going to be a lot of resistance to this, right? So getting people into thinking this is cool is, I bet you're going to have a challenge there.
It's interesting. It's about 50-50 actually. We talked to so we do have content packs that are more businessy and sort of blue suits and marble palaces and all a bit more sort of a corporate that a law firm or a professional services firm might opt into. With this cartoony style world, we tend to find, any business that already has a pool table in the headquarters is going to be comfortable with having their staff running around as bunny rabbits, right? There's a sort of direct correlation there.
Yeah.
But as you say, it is definitely the case that even some very starchy organizations quite quickly get over that barrier. I mean, before we built this platform, Adam, our chief product officer, the bunny rabbit on your right, was the founder of a platform called OpenSim, which is an open source virtual world, and that was taken up by a lot of organizations, including particularly IBM. Very sensible, sober organization. I don't know whether they have pool tables in their canteens or not, but they did.
Some of them do.
Some of them do, some of them don't. But they did thousands of meetings in OpenSim and a lot of research around, improved retention of information because you have these, unique characters and unique scenes. So I think, the as you say, people get over that barrier quite quickly if you give them the opportunity.
Yeah, it's it does change the business context quite a bit to a much more fun one. And once you get in much more fun mindset, then you can have really good meetings and be more creative in your meetings, right? Which should be a goal of companies. It's not always a goal.
Yeah.
I hate meetings actually because I worked at Microsoft for 3 years.
I have friends who still work there, so I won't say anything.
Yeah.
The whole thing is a meeting.
No, and there's a movement away from meetings for that reason, right? They're usually pretty dreadful, and not a lot of work gets done in meetings. But there's needs for them, and this is unusual and fun. Yeah.
Well, look,
cool stuff. And what's the business model here, just to cover that for people who might be watching? How do you, let's say you have a work group of 20 people and you want to buy this or use this. What's the business model here?
Yeah, so we license the platform out at a minimum of $500 a month. That gets you 50 seats and all of the sort of, the 8 or 10 prefab regions that we've put together, and all of these inbuilt tools that you've seen, a load of games, live events, so on and so forth. Then I think it's $10 per seat thereafter until you achieve a level of scale where you come and negotiate a discount with us, which is probably 1,000 employees or something like that. And then that's basically getting you all the default content. But because all of this is built on top of our platform, there's also the full SDK, which is available free, which allows people to start uploading their own content as well. So there's also the potential for
if you were a Walmart or an Amazon or something like that, could you create your own scenes and your own kind of parts and stuff?
Yeah,
like
so this is built on top of the Sinespace platform, which is built for user-generated content. So all those tools still work in here. So if you've got developers or artists, or even you just want to mess around with it, we actually have all real-time editing tools in here as well. So if you want to change the layout of this scene.
This is humans versus coronavirus.
Now, what would be real interesting is if you had hooks to other tools that, for instance, I walked around one of the virus with a bunch of scientists in a VR headset environment called Nanome, sorry, Nanome.
Yeah,
it works sort of like this. It's all VR. But it would be interesting to have a room where, hey, the scientists could go over there and then teleport out of this tool and into another tool. That'd be interesting. Ford is using VR to now do car inspections, and they're doing design of cars in VR. So their designers might meet in something like this to have a meeting, and then want to do 3D design. They would go out to another tool, right?
Well, or bring it in. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We have CAD File Import. So yes, I mean, what we're showing you here is just a load of sort of prefabricated, get started quickly with your own virtual world tools that respond to the issue of the virus. But the ability to
excuse me, the virus is making me sneeze.
Yeah, exactly. Seeing it. So this is an example. Other people can log in here as well. I think we can have 50 people in a region playing this first-person shooter. Okay. We just threw this together to to give people the opportunity to take down some of those viruses. But yes, I mean it is very extensible, and we have our enterprise clients bring in CAD files. They integrate with artificial intelligence engines. We've got people doing sort of live simulations with teams and drones working together in using the same artificial intelligence as the real drones in the physical world and those kinds of things. So the API is quite extensive, but for a starter kit, this is, how to start with your teams in a virtual world, I guess.
Now, somebody running a meeting, can they shut up somebody who's noisy or has kids in the background or something like that?
Yeah,
you have all the tools to control the audio of the room.
That's
you can see
right.
that I'm actually building in the region at the same time.
Oh yes, I can see you're building in the region. And in fact, if you're still seeing my screen, you can see here you've got mute abilities on audio and things like that. So yes, there's a whole load of sort of system tools for booting people or muting them, handing the mic around so that you don't have everyone talking at once.
Yeah. And for enterprises, there's a way to control who gets into one of these rooms.
Yeah, we have a region API. So by default, it would be the virtual world of the enterprise account. So you would we have a authentication API. They would just integrate it with their existing authentication systems. You know, I mean, to give you an example, next week, on I think maybe it's the 16th and 17th. We've got a public conference, virtual conference called Blockdown 2020, which is I think 3,000 delegates coming in for a 2-day conference about blockchain technology. I think they've got Akon, the rapper, doing the keynote speaker. And that's
cool.
integrated. Yeah, that's integrated with their ticketing system. So they're like selling $20 tickets, and they've just integrated the ticket system with our Access API. So only ticket holders will get into that grid.
And this is in this tool, not in the bigger Sinespace tool.
Correct. Yeah. This is just a very simple white label grid. I think the content pack they've taken there is the more sober, serious businessman one. So it's kind of like suits and jackets, but it's the same. It's the same tool chain.
If a group of executives was meeting like in this kind of context, could we live stream this out to, some sort of video?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I'm thinking of Twitch and YouTube, but
I think we're live streaming
if I was a corporation.
this, I think
we're recording this, so I assume there's some sort of virtual camera that's flying around this.
Everyone's looking at me. We should all switch back to videos.
Yeah, should we just go back to video just to wrap up?
So
yes, I think
it's a bit too
this is being live streamed. Looking through looking into the room. Yeah. Great. Okay. Well, Wagner, do you want to just give us a wrap up then, and we'll call it a night? I think it's been a great session.
Well,
thank you,
Robert. Thank you so much for checking this out. Really appreciate your thoughts and insights, and the fact that you really get the power of a virtual world kind of merged to a conferencing system. And love to show you more updates later on. But thanks again.
Thanks for showing this to me. It's really, really interesting. It's another step along the way of having real presence in business meetings virtually. And now that we are all forced to work at home, it's real exciting.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot. And just as a wrap up, if everyone can click the cheer, stand and clap and so on and so forth buttons, then we'll just have a round of applause for Robert. Thank you so much for joining us.
Scoble.
I have no animations for clapping on my rabbit.
The rabbit is stoically observing us all.
The rabbit is by definition excited.
The rabbit is tired. He was jumping around. He's taking a nap.
Fantastic. All right, guys. Thanks so much for today.
Thanks so much, Robert.
Thanks a lot for your time, Robert.
Really appreciate it.
All right.
Ciao.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.